Hey, ChatGPT, are you thirsty? Artificial intelligence can do some amazing things.
Would the answer be 7/25?
Excellent work. That's correct.
But it's often powered by these giant water-guzzling data centers. By one estimate, a conversation like this one can use the equivalent of a glass of water. So it's kind of surprising to find a bunch of them here in Mexico, which is suffering from extreme drought.
Que no llueve y con este son 3 años que no llueve. Ya la presa con que regamos ya no tiene nada, ya tiene.
So why are the world's biggest tech companies building them here? And what impact are they having? Hi Diana, how are you?
Hi Finn, I'm good, and you?
My colleague Diana Baptista has done a lot of reporting on the water crisis in Mexico.
This year it has been pretty bad. Almost 70% of the country has been in some sort of drought for the past year.
And so when she heard that Microsoft had built a giant data center in one of the country's driest regions, Queretaro, she decided it was worth a trip up there to see what was going on. And that took her to a town called Colón.
Aquí la gente nada más se dedica a sembrar guayabas, cacahuate y de zarzamora, pues nada más yo soy el que tengo esta poquita aquí. Pero yo desde el 86 soy dueño de aquí. Así quedó, ya nomás. Se puso negra, pero no alcanzó a crecer porque le faltó agua. Sí, tenemos. Nunca me había pasado esto hasta este año.
This is a community that has 2 dams, and when we went there, we saw these dams were completely empty.
Y subía hasta allá el agua.
Mezclar el queso con su comida.
Okay.
Diario nos llega turismo. Cuando está la presa llenita, bien llenita, no, bendito sea Dios.
¿Cómo cuánto cree usted que ha bajado el negocio?
No, pues ha bajado demasiado, un 80%.
Inhabitants of this town are only getting water, fresh water to drink, only once a week. It's a matter of survival. People will not be able to stay in Colón without water.
Diana, what do the people in Colón think of this data center just down the road?
Nobody seems to know or even care about data centers in Querétaro. We spoke to people in Colón. Nobody knows what AI is or what the cloud is. So they're just thinking, one more industry, what's the difference for us?
In 300 meters, make a U-turn.
It was actually very hard to find its location. Where data centers are located is not public. You know, it's like entering the Pentagon. You see security cameras everywhere.
And this isn't the only data center in the region. According to the local government, there are about 20 in the state, all opened within the last 5 years.
We immediately wondered why these companies are arriving with the data centers to this place which is under extreme drought. And it's a question that's been very hard to answer.
Before we get into why data centers have come to this part of Mexico, it's important to understand why they use so much water. It basically comes down to cooling. These racks, which house our data and AI chips, require a ton of energy.
This energy is just converted into heat. We need to get rid of the heat.
Getting rid of the heat usually requires electricity or water, and companies walk a balancing act depending on what is available and cost efficient.
In general, if you use water, then it could potentially lower your energy consumption. And if you don't use water, then it could potentially increase energy consumption.
All of this gets trickier as the demand for AI grows. A ChatGPT search can use up to 10 times more energy than a web search.
And I think we still don't appreciate the energy needs of this technology. There's no way to get there without a breakthrough.
As a result, Microsoft's water usage worldwide has jumped by 24% since 2022, when ChatGPT was released. Google's water has gone up 40% since 2019. With increasing energy costs and regulations, more companies have been turning to the global south to build.
When data centers are choosing where they're going to place, they're looking at what are the tax benefits of this location, is there potential staff, what is the cost of electricity, and to some extent, what is the cost of the water. The cost of the water and the sort of whether it's a water-stressed region don't necessarily match up.
So why choose Queretaro?
Bueno, pues Querétaro se está convirtiendo el valle de los data centers.
Marco Del Prete is Queretaro's Secretary for Sustainable Development. He's part of a huge push by the state to persuade big tech to move their AI data centers here.
Podríamos llegar en los próximos 10 años a una inversión de cerca de $12 mil millones. Un data center ocupa entre 70 y 100 personas cada data center, dependiendo el tamaño. Y podríamos llegar pues, casi a unos 20,000 empleos indirectos.
Queretaro's government has even offered up public land for free as an incentive for a data center company to move there.
They are going everywhere, but they are also going to places that they are welcoming with some incentive, like, I don't know, let's say tax, but also because of regulation. Like some geographies where these infrastructures are not regulated at all, like Mexico.
So my main question with the secretary was, why are you attracting a water-hungry industry? And his reply was that he wouldn't be attracting data centers that required water because there's no water to begin with.
La historia de los data centers refiere que se utilizaba mucha agua. Pero hoy los data centers nuevos, data centers, los que están llegando a Querétaro, requieren mucho menos. Tenemos bien claro que el agua que está en Querétaro es para los ciudadanos, no para la industria.
The secretary is right when he says data center companies are coming up with ways to use much less water. Microsoft, for example, says its newest data centers have reduced their water intensity by 80% compared with older models.
He, however, did not say how much water is being allocated to each data center unit or to each cloud region.
Tiene usted la estimación, pero en general, ¿cuánta agua están ocupando los data centers?
Es complicado saberlo, perdón, no tengo la facultad de solicitar su consumo de agua. ¿Por qué? Porque el agua no la asigno yo.
He's talking about Mexico's National Water Commission, who didn't provide us with any data center water usage figures. This is part of a much bigger problem within the data center industry. There just isn't a ton of data out there on water usage. Governments and companies are cagey about it.
It's somewhat ironic that there's not a lot of data on data centers.
If you look at their statements, not a specific company, but overall, they are saying they're doing good for the climate, carbon neutral, carbon zero, water positive. And the more I read, the more I feel like they're not telling us the whole picture. Training GPT-3 in Microsoft's US data center is equivalent to about 200 people's annual water consumption at home.
The new Gemini system can go beyond understanding.
Some big tech reveal their overall water consumption each year, but they don't go into detail for individual data centers. In a press release, Microsoft said this one in Querétaro will only use water for 5% of the year, but that doesn't tell us how much water is being used.
We reached out to Microsoft and they refused any sort of comment on the matter. So how can you trust the authorities when there is no data available?
One place that did find out was Uruguay. Google wanted to open a data center in the capital, Montevideo, during a historic 3-year drought. Environmental groups weren't happy, and they took legal action to find out that Google planned to use 7.6 million liters of fresh water per day.
It was about 10% of the consumption of the city. Really, I felt very angry personally. We said, hey, we don't have water now to drink. Water is not available. We are getting water to hospitals by trucks. And these guys want to use water to cool systems and throw it away now. It was not possible to accept that, really.
After public pushback, Google said it would change its design for its Uruguay data center to use less water. But now there's concern that it'll strain the electricity grid.
We are not against having anything here. It's just that we want what comes here to do it in the right way.
The EU have given European data centers till September this year to report on their water and electricity use, to blow open the lid on the secrecy in the industry. In Queretaro, Diana found Microsoft had 2 data centers in the region. This one and this one, which we couldn't film from above due to drone restrictions. Diana found through public records that this one was granted access to 25 million litres of groundwater a year, about the same as a quarter of water allocated to Colón for public use. Neither Microsoft or the Water Commission could confirm how much of this was actually being used.
The population of Colón told us that the 2 dams only provide water for them, for consumption. However, it is clear that there is a problem of inequality between how much water is being provided to the industry and how much water is being provided to the population. We even asked some people like, hey, do the arrival of any sort of tech company benefit you in any way? And they all said no. This is because tech companies only attract highly educated people. It makes no difference to them whether another data center or 100 data centers arrive there, because they have not been informed.
Sí, sí. Bueno, por ejemplo, la semana que nos llega el agua, pues ahora sí que la juntamos o llenamos los botes, los tinacos, hasta los garrafones. Pero ya le digo, esperamos en Dios que pues nos ayude y nos mande la agüita, que es ahora sí que es necesario para todos, sin distinción, sin escoger.
Thanks for watching. This video is part of our series called Hard Copy, which looks at the physical impact data has on our planet. If you liked it, please subscribe for more.